What if the solution to growing your business was about systems? Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Probert.
Hey guys, I'm Jonathan's co-host Laura DeFranco. Welcome to Systemized.
We're here to talk to successful entrepreneurs about the systems that help them grow their business. It's what we wanted to know when we started ours, and it's what's going to help you build yours. Today, we're excited to welcome Infinite Banker Richard Canfield to the show. How's it going, Richard?
Excited to be with you guys here today. Love the show. I love what you guys are doing, helping a lot of business owners understand how they can move forward, take steps to become more efficient, more systematic, and more importantly, be in an area where they can get their time back.
Thanks for those words. It's always a great help to help other entrepreneurs. But let me tell you guys about Richard first. In 2009, Richard's life changed completely when he read the book Becoming Your Own Banker: Unlocking the Infinite Banking Concept by R. Nelson Nash. Nash became his personal friend and mentor, and Richard now teaches his powerful message of financial hope and control. Richard is passionate about putting people in the driver's seat of their financial life, creating durable and dependable wealth. He works with families, business owners, and real estate investors to strategize how they can keep more of their hard-earned money that flows through their hands over a lifetime.
Richard, we're excited to have you. You know, you and I met through the Epic Network. I was excited to meet you, and I started to learn a little bit about infinite banking. You did a really amazing presentation. I enjoyed learning about that a lot. There is a lot to this topic, you guys, so get ready.
All
Yeah,
right, Richard.
we have a lot
I'll
of
go
fun
ahead.
with it, that's for sure. But
Mhm.
because of the type of education that we do, we actually need a lot of systems because it's something that is takes a lot of education to decide if it's something you want to do. So it's a long sales process, and you could say it that because that's how any business owner would look at it. But it's an education process fundamentally, and because it can take a while for people to rewrite brain patterns that they've developed over 10, 20, 30 years of living, we need to have proper systems in place to make sure that they can follow that educational journey to be able to come out on the other side and say, yeah, hey, Richard, your team, I really want to move forward and do this. And so we actually need systems quite desperately to do that in an effective way.
And talking about those systems, can you tell us something that you implemented into your business that saves you time, effort, money, or whatever else?
Well, I'm going to mention two primary things. They are a little bit interconnected. The first one to me is just email templates. Now, that on its own sounds really basic and generic, and it is, but the type of email templates I'm talking about, I've probably got 35 or 40 of them that are very specific to client specific questions, prospect specific questions, resources to send out. They're all literally designed and based on things that will take me 15, 30 minutes, 1 hour to explain to somebody. Things that would take me a long time or a booked meeting. So every email template, almost exclusively that I have built, is something that eliminates the need for a meeting. It's not that I don't want to meet with people. I love meeting with people, but I want to meet with people who have already gone through the information. And so I've become, the chief resource officer within my business on making sure I'm just getting people to the resource. And all the email templates I have are designed to create that resource mechanism. I literally built 3 of them this week. One of them has had to do with a client who's interested in transferring an insurance policy from one corporation to another, and there's potential tax consequences. The degree to which I would have to have a conversation with that individual is pretty extravagant. So I put a bunch of resources together. I created the email template. I created a document that he would need to sign to indicate that he's read that email. And it's a cover your butt letter fundamentally, because I don't want to take the risk of him making that change and having something bad happen. I want him to be informed so he's making a valuable decision. So that template is now in place and it's ready to go. And then I notified other members of our team. We have approximately 35 advisors across USA and Canada. And now that template, while it is primarily Canadian in this instance, it is available to every member of that team. So that template now is a system that, while it only gets sent in random occurrences, it saves meetings for not just me, but for everyone on the team. So now it becomes a 10x multiplier on time.
Oh my gosh, Jonathan, I got to break in on this one for a
Go
second.
for it.
Okay, you got me so excited, Richard, like that you guys rewind this part of the interview, go back to the beginning of when he's talking about email templates and go slow. and understand what he just said. Hours of time will be saved. When I started to do email templates, Richard, and I am not at the level you're at, so you just gave me a little super boost of what I'm going to do next, was already a time saver. And it takes a while, you guys. You got to get all those emails done. But even if you have to edit slightly, imagine just having to edit slightly and customize for what. So I had just had to break in because I'm kind of in love with that first answer, Richard. Thank you.
Well, there's something about that I want to mention to both of you and your listeners is like I learned a lot about how to do this for myself. It was difficult for me initially. Now it's just like, oh my God, I'm just looking for a reason to write an email template. Like, give me I want to template the crap out of everything. Yes. And I have to do a shout out to my friend Tim Francis, who owns a company called Profit Factory. He's who really helped me start getting down that path, because I was, as a high quick start, Laura, you and I have a similar Colby score. That head down, just go for it. I can get anything accomplished. I can do it on my own kind of mindset. That Superman mentality was the detriment to me. And what a couple of questions came into my training with Tim and over the years that have really helped me. The first one that your listeners should understand is, what does version 1 look like? That's a question you should write down. That's rolling around in my brain at all times. We often think that we need this version 10 system. We need to build this thing and it's going to be all this, we need all these bells and whistles and automations and click this and click that. Well, an email template can be built into an automation, but does it need to be? Version 1 is just the email. And the email doesn't even have to be very good. It could be 80% of what you want, but it's 80% greater than the email that didn't exist prior to you writing it. That's okay. How many of my templates have I gone back and modified? Probably all of them at some point. And you know how? I got feedback from someone because I sent it out. And I also sent it to other people in my industry saying, hey, what do you think of this? So I got real world feedback to make the edits to move forward at some measure of speed. So the key question is, what does version 1 look like? And if you get really clear on that, you'd be surprised how easy it is to get version 1 operational. The next thing is, everyone's familiar with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 of things. But how are you asking your questions around 80-20? So in the relation to like systems or emails or things that are bogging you down in your time, what is the 20% or 10% of tasks or items that are creating 80% of your stress? The 20% of things that are creating 80% of your procrastination. Where do you recognize you're procrastinating right now? There's something I refer to, and I'm trying right now, as a procrastination pivot. That's an opportunity for you to take the signal that you need to make a pivot, and there's probably a template or a system or something in place, because you're not designed to be the right who to do that work. So you either need another who or you need another tool or a system. Well, version 1 is a tool or a system. What does version 1 look like? Okay, maybe it's not going to solve all of it, but could it solve a big chunk of it? And it gets you moving forward with speed. And then once you have a template, the advantage of those templates is that you no longer need to be the who to send them out. You can create a little list of rules when it gets sent out. And someone else, an administrator, a virtual assistant, someone who checks your email twice a week, once a day, that person can intercept that flow of information, and they can action the template on your behalf and just notify you it's been done. Now we're creating little elements of speed that move you forward faster. Another thing that I find for myself as a high quick start person, I need to have a book meeting with somebody. If I have a book meeting with myself, I'm not so likely to show up, unfortunately. I'm really accountable to other people. Sometimes I'm not so accountable to myself. It's just a reality, because there's just this knowledge. I have someone on the other end of the line that's waiting for me. So often, if I'm procrastinating in an area, I'll develop what I call a power hour. Again, an idea I'm stealing from my friend Tim Francis, where we book a time, we hop on for the first 60 seconds, and we say, what am I working on? How am I going to use my hour? And the other person shares the same thing, or you could have 2 or 3 people, but it gets harder to do it in a minute if you have 2 or 3 people. You leave the call, you leave the Zoom, and you agree to hop back on 55, 56 minutes. You spend the last 4 or 5 minutes, then, hey, how did I do with my use of time? Did I get done what I set out to do, what I'm looking to accomplish? And then you decide, do we want to reset for another power hour? So then you have that accountability mechanism. We all work better with some kind of accountability. So like all of these things are little like building effects that help us out. And, Jonathan, just for the sake of time, I want to mention one more thing. I developed a logic-based financial fact finder intake tool. Everyone here has had to fill in some kind of a financial intake for some financial person. to apply for insurance, to have a financial planner. And just hearing me say that, probably to a degree, you're having like, you kind of want to throw up a little bit because you're thinking about how stupid those forms are and all the dumb questions. And a lot of the questions aren't relevant to you. Doesn't know your business, doesn't, hey, maybe you're not married, maybe you don't have kids, you don't have grandkids, you don't have like all these questions that they have on a standard form that are just completely meaningless to you. Well, I built one that eliminates all of those. I ask you the question, and if it's a yes, it adds a few more questions, but they're all designed. I just tell people, look, I built a form. We need this back. If I don't have this back before our meeting, I'm going to cancel the meeting because if we don't have the form, there's no reason to meet. I can't help you without this information, quite literally. So if you want help, I need the form. It's that simple. But don't worry about it. You can complete the form in less than 9 minutes. If it takes you longer than 9 minutes to complete it, you're overthinking the form. Let me know if that's the case. I'll hop on with you and we'll just smash it out together. Does that make sense? That's how I communicate it to people. So I built a form for people like me, quick starts that don't like forms, so we can go through it quickly. If you don't have kids, it's not going to ask you the names, the ages of your kids. If you're not married, it's not going to ask you a bunch of spouse questions. When it says what kind of investments you have, it's a checkbox, check all that apply. And if it applies to you, it only asks you a drop-down menu, how much? And it's literally to the, 10 or 25,000 on a scroll wheel. So you could just click a number and move on. It's rounded numbers. You don't need to go log into your bank and pull me a number to the penny. Some people want to give you that number to the penny, and I'm not even allowing them to do that because I don't want them to put that much effort in. When we get on a real call, hey, we can get into the nitty gritty if you want. That's cool. I just need an overview. Once I have that overview in place, you'd be amazed what I could accomplish with that amount of information because now I know what to ask you. And once I know what to ask you, now we can figure out what you actually need and we can match that to your objectives. That one thing alone, and it all gets built through an automation that my assistant can send. When it gets completed, we get an automation that triggers to tag us that it's done. So if it's not done before the meeting, my assistant knows to cancel the meeting.
Awesome. And I'm glad you talked about the email templates and the version 1 there. Keeping everything simple and easy to understand, especially early on, is something I also try to tell people about. You don't need to do everything to the perfect degree at the start. Pick one SOP at a time to write, pick one system to build, and not super 100% like automated, super complicated kind of stuff. And with your logic based thing, only the necessities are needing to be answered, and that's a great thing to put out there. I love that.
Based on what you said, Jonathan, I just had a trace back memory from going back maybe not quite 10 years, but probably about 7, 8 years ago, probably 8 years ago. And the first thing that I did, and a person just like you basically said, "Hey, Richard, here's what you need to do." I'm like, "Oh, what is the thing that's bogging me down the most and drives me the most frustrating, or is the most amount of follow-up?" Because I really hate the follow-up stuff. So systems do follow-up for me because I'm not a follow-up person. Some people are really good at that. And if that's the case, it's a high five. Knock your socks off. Do what you know to do the best. But for me, it's an area of conflict and procrastination. So I need to have systems to do that for me. And one thing that we do, we teach people with our process is taking something called a policy loan from an insurance company. And it used to be we had a physical form that they had to fill, and then it needed to get scanned in, and it needed to get sent somewhere. And there was all these details, and how do you communicate that? And so the first thing I did is I built a document for client facing about how to do that. It had links to forms for different companies. It had proper emails. It had email templates built into it, had all the information that they need with the most important information right at the top. And so anytime someone asked me to do that, boom, they got that email template with a link to that form. And that saved me, I can't even begin to describe over the last 8, 9 years how much time that saved me. And now that type of a system is implemented throughout our entire company. They've changed the way they do that. It's improved, so it's a lot easier now. But for years, that saved my bacon.
Awesome.
Canadian bacon, mind you.
Oh my gosh, Canadian bacon. Richard, I think you just won the award for my favorite episode of advice. So I hope you guys are listening again. Yeah, the templates for sure, but I'm going to do this quote. I think I'm going to meme you, Richard. It's going to say, "Systems do follow up for me." That's another amazing golden nugget. Okay, so we kind of want to close out with one last question for you. You know, one of the goals of Systemized is to support our fellow entrepreneurs in their business to get the goal of that time freedom and the lifestyle they want to live, right? I think we're all on the journey. Tell us a little bit about what entrepreneurship has done for you or allowed you to do that was maybe unexpected, something you never saw coming that was good.
This is a really good question. I think what two things that come to mind is number one, it's allowed me to actually help people by actually helping them. My previous, I'm a journeyman electrician by trade. That's my previous career. And I've now, I think next year, maybe next year will be 19 years since I left that career and became permanently unemployable. And since that time, one of the reasons I did that is I knew that I couldn't help people in that environment. And I was doing things to help people really financially at that time anyway. And like, something's wrong here. There's a mismatch that's taking place. So now I realize because of being an entrepreneur, while it has been difficult, it's also been glorious. And I've had control of my time. Doesn't mean that I've used all that time very well, but I'm slow, but I'm worth waiting for. That's what I like to say. And I found that now, as an example, in the summer this week, we moved to a beautiful area in the mountains. There's a beautiful river next to me. I spend a lot of the 2 months, 3 months of the summer walking 3 minutes down the way and jumping in a river and hanging out with my kids on the sand. And we literally have moved to kind of a vacation paradise. That was never feasible to me because I get to control my time. I'm able to have virtual meetings. I don't need to go drive to an office. I don't need to fight traffic. I don't have to fight, the amount of times I need to get in my vehicle and fight traffic is so minimal that I almost forget what it was like to have to be in traffic. I mean, I'm reminded when I go to Vancouver really quickly how much I don't like it. But the amount of time that saved me, I couldn't it's literally incalculable. And I've got a lot of roadway left in my life yet today. So if you really extrapolate that over a lifespan, that type of time and the quality degree to which you're able to spend that time, whether it's on my own health or with my family, playing cards, playing games with my kids, I'm able to take my kids to bed every night, read stories to them. I couldn't put a price tag on it. It's not possible.
That's great. We love spending time with family and getting to spend the quality time with that. Richard, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here to share with us today. Before you go, though, I want to give yourself a chance to shout yourself out, tell people where you are, where to find you, what you're doing, all that kind of stuff.
I'm located in a beautiful place called Chilliwack, British Columbia in Canada, but we operate all over North America. We have team members that help people all over. Something I'd love to give for your listeners is a copy of this book. It's called Don't Spread the Wealth. It's all about leveraging the family banking system so you can own all the gold, make all the rules, and enjoy generational riches. It's about making conversations about money fun in the family, how to do that with annual family banking meetings, and creating not just a pathway for leaving something behind, but creating legacy by being here today and the value system that you leave behind. And money is just one element of that. So we're taking that stigma away and putting in something really positive. There's a key way you can do that with family members so that you guys can cycle money within your own economy. Don't Spread the Wealth. You can get a copy at don'tspreadwealth.com. That's don'tspreadwealth.com. All we ask is that you pay for the shipping and we'll send one anywhere to your door in North America.
Awesome. Well, you guys heard Richard. Go get your book. You can find the links in the description. Also, remember to grab your free system success guide, which can get you started systemizing your business today.
You guys, the guide is really magnificent. If you're excited by some of the conversation today about systems, Richard should have gotten you excited about a few things. We're excited about it, but the guide is going to help start the journey for you. Jonathan walks you through step by step, and we've got that link down below for you as well. So make sure to grab it.
Okay, guys, that does it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and remember, for epic business growth, get systemized.